You know that instant panic when your signal bars drop to zero? As of 2026, that fear is officially becoming history. Starlink has just activated cell towers in space, turning the phone already in your pocket into a satellite device. The era of the dead zone is over. Welcome to SynthCosmos. If you enjoy exploring the future of tech, don't hesitate to give this video a like, subscribe, and share it with a friend. Now, let's see how this actually works.
So how does this actually work? Because here's what everyone gets wrong. When you hear Starlink, you picture that big white dish on someone's roof, right? The dishy that beams internet from space. Direct-to-cell is completely different, and the physics behind it? It should be impossible. Think about what your phone was built to do. It sends out a signal designed to reach a cell tower maybe 5–10 miles away. That's it. Low power, weak signal. It's like whispering across a room. Now imagine that room is 340 miles tall. That's how high these Starlink satellites are orbiting. And they're not sitting still. They're screaming across the sky at 17,000 miles per hour. Your phone is trying to whisper to a target moving faster than a bullet hundreds of miles away. Every engineer who heard Musk's plan said the same thing. That's not how physics works. But Starlink solved it with two breakthrough innovations. The Starlink V2 satellites aren't like the earlier versions. These things deploy antennas the size of a tennis court once they reach orbit. Why so big? Because they need to be sensitive enough to pick up your phone's whisper from space. We're talking about detecting a signal that's 1,000,000 times weaker than a normal cell tower receives. It's like trying to hear someone whispering in a stadium full of screaming fans from the parking lot. The antenna tech alone took years to develop, and each satellite weighs over 1.7 tons. Most of that weight is just the antenna system. Here's where Starlink's approach gets wild. Traditional satellite internet uses a handful of massive satellites in high orbit, 22,000 miles up. You need a big dish, there's lag, it's expensive. Starlink flipped that model. They're flying thousands of smaller satellites in low Earth orbit. As of 2026, there are over 5,000 Starlink satellites up there, and hundreds more launching every month. Instead of 5 cell towers covering your city, imagine 5,000 satellites covering the entire planet. At any given moment, multiple satellites are passing over your location. Your phone connects to whichever one has the best line of sight, and as that satellite moves out of range, it hands you off to the next one, just like driving between cell towers on a highway. Except these towers are in space, and they cover oceans, deserts, the Arctic, places where building a traditional cell tower would cost millions or be physically impossible. And here's where the part that blows my mind. Your phone has no idea it's talking to a satellite. When you send a text from the middle of nowhere, your iPhone or Android thinks it's connecting to a T-Mobile tower. The satellite is literally pretending to be a cell tower using standard LTE protocols. No app download, no special settings, no firmware update. You just send the text, and it works. As of early 2026, this is live for millions of T-Mobile customers in the US, Rogers in Canada, Optus in Australia, KDDI in Japan. Right now, it's mostly SMS, texting only. The bandwidth is limited, so it's slow. Think early 2000s texting speeds. But voice calls? Those are rolling out in beta. And data? That's coming next. The infrastructure is already in orbit. They're just flipping switches. Dead zones aren't disappearing someday. They're disappearing now. But here's the problem Elon doesn't talk about. He's not the only one doing this. While Starlink was launching satellites, a company called AST SpaceMobile was building something completely different, and they might actually beat Starlink at their own game. See, Starlink's strategy is what I call the swarm approach. Launch thousands of small satellites, blanket the Earth, overwhelm the problem with numbers. It works, but it has limits. Each Starlink satellite can only handle so much bandwidth. So yeah, you can text from anywhere, but streaming a video, making a crystal clear video call, that's going to take years to scale.
AST SpaceMobile looked at that limitation and said, what if we just go bigger? Their satellites, called Bluebirds, are engineering marvels. When they launch, they're folded up tight, but once they reach orbit, they unfold like a massive origami structure. The final size? 693 square feet. That's the size of a studio apartment in space. One Bluebird satellite has more antenna surface area than dozens of Starlink satellites combined. And that size translates directly to power. Where Starlink is optimized for basic connectivity, texting, light data, AST is promising full 4G and 5G speeds from space. We're talking actual broadband from your regular phone, no modifications. Now, you might be thinking, okay, but Starlink has 5,000 satellites already in orbit. AST has like, what, 5? You're right. As of early 2026, AST has only launched a handful of Bluebird satellites. They're still in testing. But here's the thing. They don't need thousands. Because each Bluebird is so powerful, AST's plan is to cover the entire planet with just a few hundred satellites. Starlink needs 5,000 plus to deliver global texting. AST is aiming for global broadband with 500. It's a completely different architecture. And if it works, if those giant satellites can actually deliver 5G speeds reliably, then AST leapfrogs Starlink overnight. Think about what that means. You're hiking in Patagonia. You pull out your phone and you can video call your family back home. Not choppy satellite lag, real smooth 5G video. That's AST's promise. But this isn't just a tech battle, it's a carrier war. Starlink's partners right now? T-Mobile in the US, Rogers in Canada, Optus in Australia. A handful of smaller carriers globally. AST's partners? AT&T, Verizon, Vodafone. Let that sink in. The two biggest carriers in the United States, AT&T and Verizon, aren't working with Starlink. They're betting on AST. Why? Because AST's model gives carriers more control. With Starlink, you're essentially letting SpaceX become part of your network infrastructure. That makes telecom giants nervous. AST is positioning itself as the carrier-friendly option. They're building the satellites, but the carriers keep control of the customer relationship, the billing, the branding. It's the difference between Starlink saying, we'll provide the space infrastructure, you're along for the ride, and AST saying, we're your satellite vendor, you're still running the show. For massive telecom companies with shareholders and regulatory concerns, that distinction matters a lot. So why does this race matter? Because this isn't about who has the coolest satellites. It's about who controls the next era of human connectivity. Right now, telecom infrastructure is stuck on the ground. If you want coverage, you need to build towers, lay cables, get permits, spend billions, which means huge parts of the planet, oceans, deserts, rural areas, developing countries, just don't get connected. 3 billion people still lack reliable internet access. But if you can deliver connectivity from space, real, fast, affordable connectivity, you don't need ground infrastructure anymore. Suddenly, a fishing boat in the Indian Ocean has the same internet as downtown Manhattan. A farmer in rural Kenya can access the same information as a researcher at MIT. Disaster zones stay online even when every ground tower is destroyed. This is a trillion-dollar market. And it's not just about revenue. Whoever wins this race doesn't just make money. They decide how 8 billion people communicate, what information they can access, how connected or isolated entire regions remain. Starlink has the head start. AST has the ambitious tech and the carrier partnerships. And both of them are racing against time, physics, and each other. But here's the wild card. What if they both win? What if 5 years from now, we have two competing satellite networks covering the planet? Starlink for T-Mobile users, AST for AT&T and Verizon users, different speeds, different coverage, different pricing, the same fragmentation we have with cell towers now, just in space. Or maybe one of them collapses. Maybe AST's giant satellites have technical issues at scale. Maybe Starlink's swarm approach hits regulatory roadblocks. We're watching this play out in real time, and most people don't even know it's happening.
Okay, So what's actually available right now in 2026? Let's cut through the hype and talk real-world status. If you're on T-Mobile, Rogers, Optus, or a few other partner carriers, you can already send SMS from anywhere on Earth. Middle of the ocean? Works. Top of a mountain? Works. Remote desert highway? Works. Now, it's not instant. We're talking early 2000s texting speeds. There's a delay, sometimes 30 seconds, sometimes a few minutes. But if you're stranded and need help, that delay doesn't matter. You can send, "I'm alive, here are my coordinates," and that message gets through. Voice calling is rolling out now. Limited beta testing is happening across multiple carriers. By mid-2026, you should be able to make actual phone calls from the wilderness. Quality won't be crystal clear yet. Think of it like a slightly choppy Zoom call. But again, if the alternative is no call at all, this is revolutionary. As for data, that's coming soon. Don't expect to stream Netflix from a mountain peak yet, but basic web browsing, loading a map, sending an email with attachments, that's the next phase. Probably late 2026, early 2027. The satellites are already designed for it. They're just scaling up capacity and working through carrier partnerships. Now, let's talk about who this technology completely wipes out. Garmin InReach devices, $400 upfront plus $15 to $65 per month for satellite messaging. Why would you buy that when your existing phone does it for free or as part of your normal cell plan? Iridium satellite phones? Same story. These things cost $600 to $1,500 plus monthly fees. Their entire value proposition was, "We work where your phone doesn't." Well, not anymore. Even Apple's emergency SOS via satellite, which launched on iPhone 14 and seemed cutting edge 2 years ago, is starting to look like a stopgap solution. Apple's feature only works for emergencies. You can't just text your friend. Starlink and AST, you can do everything your phone normally does, just from anywhere. The dedicated satellite communication industry, worth billions, is about to collapse. Not because their tech got worse, because the barrier to entry just disappeared. But here's what's really happening beneath the surface. For the first time in human history, no signal stops being a thing. Think about what that fundamentally changes. Hikers don't die because they couldn't call for help. Search and rescue can actually communicate with people in distress instead of just searching blindly. Fishermen, sailors, cruise passengers, they don't disappear at sea because they lost communication. Coast guards can coordinate rescues in real time. When hurricanes knock down cell towers, when earthquakes destroy infrastructure, when wildfires cut off entire towns, connectivity doesn't die anymore. People can still call for help, coordinate evacuations, let loved ones know they're safe. Places that were too expensive to wire with fiber or build cell towers, they leapfrog straight to satellite connectivity. No infrastructure needed. Right now, 3 billion people lack reliable internet access, not because the technology doesn't exist, because the infrastructure is too expensive to build. Satellite to cell changes that equation completely. A village in sub-Saharan Africa gets the same connectivity as a suburb in California. No cables, no towers, just satellites overhead. A kid in rural India can access MIT OpenCourseWare, Khan Academy, the entire world's knowledge base. Telemedicine reaches places that don't have doctors, remote diagnostics, medical consultations via video call from villages with no hospitals. Farmers can check market prices in real time. Small businesses can sell globally. Freelancers can work from literally anywhere. This is as big as the invention of the smartphone, maybe bigger, because it's not about creating a new device, it's about making the devices we already have universally functional. So here's the bottom line. As of early 2026, this technology is live. It's not a concept, it's not coming soon. Millions of people already have it. And over the next 2 to 3 years, it's going to expand to billions. Your phone will work everywhere.
Not everywhere with cell service, just everywhere. 5 years from now, no signal will be a phrase your kids won't understand, the same way they don't understand dial-up internet or landlines or waiting until you got home to check email. Cell towers served us well for 40 years, but their time is ending. The satellite era is here, and most people still have no idea it's happening.
If you made it this far, you're part of the small group who actually pays attention to the future before it becomes obvious. That's exactly what we do here at SynthCosmos. Break down the technologies reshaping our world while most people are still sleeping on them. If this video opened your eyes to something you didn't know was happening, do me a favor. Hit that like button. It tells YouTube to show this to more people who need to see it. Subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next breakdown, and share this with someone who still thinks satellite internet requires a giant dish on their roof. The future's already here. Let's make sure people know about it. See you in the next one.